Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Glass Prism, a show about people, culture, and the science behind ideas you haven't considered before. On October 28th, 2021, our moderately friendly alien and billionaire tech CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, announced his vision for the future of Facebook, now officially Meta. His promise was simple and confusing all at the same time. Mark claimed that Meta will lead us into an abstract yet revolutionary digital reality called the Metaverse. But right after the keynote that dragged on for a whole 72 excruciating minutes, where an awkward Zuck tried to explain his vision of the Metaverse, it was not clear to most people, including enthusiasts, what the hell a Metaverse even is. Today, the only seemingly concrete part of this plan is the technology associated with this virtual world, VR and AR technology. We discussed these technologies in today's episode, but in case you didn't know the difference, virtual reality is a feature of high-tech headsets that make it feel you have been transported into a digital reality. An augmented reality is similar to that, but the headset or phone in some cases would have cameras and display digital elements over your physical environment. So, why would you bother with this stuff? And why is Zuckerberg so convinced this is the future of his multi-billion-dollar company? Well, VR can transport you entirely into a new environment and make it feel like you're attending a concert, for example, without moving out of your living room, or transport you into a game so that you can evade zombies in real life. AR can display digital holograms of furniture from IKEA to view how it fits into your bedroom, or even work from home by turning your kitchen into a home office by creating as many monitors as you so wish. And all you might need is a keyboard. Admittedly, this all sounds super exciting and futuristic, but unfortunately for Mark, not many are confident in his new vision. And as of the date we launched this episode, it would have been a few days since Mark announced the firing of 11,000 employees, having lost 70% of Meta's stock value since the beginning of this year alone. It is clear that he is in trouble. I mean, it's no surprise that the confidence of the tech industry is waning after Mark failed to lead us into his promised land so far. And so in today's episode, we discuss the question of why Mark's vision is going so terribly wrong. What about the metaverse that has people so skeptical and excited at the same time? Is this metaverse thing a gimmick or truly the future? And if Mark is the right person to lead us into it. This is the Glass Prism Podcast. Enjoy. Initial thoughts about the metaverse, Simon, go.
I could go into this. All right. So, the idea of a metaverse is that you're connecting so many people in a virtual environment. But I'm like, bruh, people have done this for decades now. Literally every single video game world is technically its own metaverse. I'm like, VR has been around and there have already been VR apps that do metaverse-like things. You can already interact with people. So what's so special about this one? It doesn't have legs?
I see.
Anyway, I want to hear you guys' opinion.
Okay, I'll go next. I think it's the future. I think this is how in 10, 15 years time, this is how our kids are going to go to school. This is how we're going to go to work. This is how we're going to party. This is how we're going to go to concerts. Trust me, this is going to be a thing. And wow. I'm not saying that we'll give up on reality, but I do feel like this will be a future where people will actually hang out and participate in, mainly because I see glimpses or features of it happening today and right now as well.
You're not an investor of Meta, are you?
I am not. I would...
You'd be losing a lot of money.
I would be losing a lot of money. Did you see the stock price? Oof. Did you see how much it tanked?
Yeah. Year to date, I think from 1 year ago, actually, not even year to date, 1 year ago. Right now, it's 73% less.
Oof.
So it's 25%
Yikes.
of the value that
just
it was
for reference, a year ago is when Mark Zuckerberg announced Metaverse and changed the company name to Meta. Obviously, there's problems with it, but I do see it as the future, so I'm very hopeful for it. What are your thoughts?
Firas, hit us with it.
Yeah, but I actually think, let me touch upon both of your points because I don't think you guys contradict each other.
Huh.
Like,
Interesting.
notice the fact that, like, even if he thinks it's the future, it doesn't mean that it hasn't existed before. It just means that it's going to be more integrated into our lives, more so.
And there are some nuances as well.
Yeah.
So I do think there's potential. I'm not saying like it's devoid of like it's just a cash grab that will go down like the current stock price. Right? I think there is potential in it. But
All right. So my initial thoughts. I think, as Simon said, there is potential, but the way that it's going to hold up or even be integrated properly by Meta specifically is if they ended up executing this properly and introducing it properly. I think the metaverse is eventually going to be the next step for our digital lives. I think that will be the case. Reason being is because I think the form factor of a laptop, phone, and so on is a little bit limiting. I think if we integrate our real lives with our digital lives a little bit more, it's going to be much more convenient. And we don't necessarily need to, like, for example, sit for hours at a time on our laptop screens doing work and so on. Like, we can have a little bit more engagement interacting with the environment that we're in, as like the digital world is superimposed on top of it.
you're saying the medium itself is the potential of metaverse.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you change that, think about all the different digital technologies that have basically set up the platforms for entertainment, education, and so on. The internet is one of them, but if you think like a little bit more simply, like the CD and how it developed from DVD to Blu-ray to all of these things, it's like
You forgot Betamax.
all of these things. Once you have like little iterations, and eventually you get to a point where the technology can actually support like a huge shift, a huge disruption.
Interesting.
And that's where we can have a little bit of a better digital world, a little bit more integrated into our lives.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by better.
It's funny you say that for us because like right now the Meta Quest is the most affordable like entry level way to get into VR. Like, you know how much money the Valve Index is or the HTC Vive or any of them. This is now a headset that is being sold that has no wires. It can function completely by itself as an autonomous unit. So this is like in a way a very easy way to get into VR and Metaverse.
Right. Let's talk about the fact that basically Facebook has switched its entire identity to adopt this new digital world that they believe
It's
they're
now
going
Meta,
to create a foundation of.
Yeah.
Obviously, you just mentioned the Meta Quest Pro. That's their, like, what is it? The initial offering of like, hey, can you please get involved in this?
No, it's not their initial offerings because the company that designs these headsets, right, is Oculus. So Oculus, I think when it first came out, I think like 2015, 2013, something like that. And it's owned by Facebook or Meta technically. I can't get used to calling it Meta. It's so used to referring to it as Facebook because back then Facebook was the one that acquired Oculus back then. But Oculus came out with their first VR headset around, I think, like 2013, 2014. And that's when like VR gaming, I think obviously it was a thing before. There were ways to use VR via your cell phone or something like that. And I think Oculus really pushed it to connect with your computer and be able to play video games on your computer, right? So I don't know. I don't know if Mark Zuckerberg had the vision of the metaverse back then. He might have, but essentially he acquired the company and they've just been operating just for the sake of like PC usage of VR for the time being.
But why switch? Because Facebook obviously multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Right. Owns multiple different companies, multiple different social media platforms. Now it's betting very hard into the metaverse. It's like clearly this switch had to be catalyzed by something.
Right.
What do you think that is?
Well, I think that just comes from the actual platforms that they own. Like, yeah, Facebook was and still is to a certain extent popular enough among a certain demographic.
Well, it's the most popular one right now. I think what happened is they're just everywhere now. Like they have nowhere to go. So now they're like, okay, social media, they've captured it all essentially. Where do they head to next? And I think the future is like taking it really far, which is the metaverse itself, right? Which is a huge leap. And I think because they're a leader, because they don't have many people to compete with on social media, they have Instagram, they have Facebook, which are two huge social media platforms. I think that's why that kicked it off. They're like, I think Mark Zuckerberg realized, okay, we are the leaders in this world, in this social space. We can kick it off into a different direction, a new direction. I think that's what made him want to push towards the metaverse.
Okay.
And those two platforms are struggling quite a bit compared to, let's say, TikTok, because now a lot of people are deviating to a different form factor of social media that is more video based. So maybe it is time for Zuckerberg to say, you know what, let's look around. Like, look at what Google's doing. Google's technically Alphabet, right, in a way, and they've got their own sort of experiments. Not all of them successful, but like that's a way for them to get into something, be the early adopters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'd like to also add, it's not only just Facebook who's invested in this metaverse concept, right? Because metaverse is not Facebook's thing, right? Or sorry, Meta's thing. It's basically Meta just has what Horizon World, right? Which is like a platform.
That's the
of
actual
metaverse, yes. The platform of the metaverse, right? Where you go and hang out in the metaverse. But the metaverse is a concept, right? It's an idea. And there are other companies like Microsoft who also is invested in the metaverse. They are investing in their own platform as well. Even like the VR chat, for example, which is also a chatting platform using your basic VR headset and remotes. That's been around for like, 4 or 5 years now. And I think that's also an existing concept of the metaverse already.
yeah, but we're talking about stagnation of their platforms, basically, is what we're talking about. But
Yes.
Talha, you just mentioned that it's one of the most popular things. So do you think they're just jumping the gun with this? You also mentioned that basically like other companies are getting involved into this concept as well, but Facebook is the only one, or Meta, whatever, is getting involved in a way where they're
the center of the attention.
They're rechanneling the brand to reflect their vision for what the metaverse should be, and they're trying to be the number one player in that area.
Like they're trying to do what Apple did to smartphones, basically.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah,
They're taking that.
They want to be the name
Yeah.
that people think of.
Because right now, I think it's for us specifically, especially in North America and some parts of Europe, like it's only the laggards that are still using Facebook.
Yes.
Basically, there's an innovation adoption curve. You don't necessarily need to worry about that too much. But the idea is like, it's like a natural distribution of user base, like how much people are going to be using your platform. And for the North American customer base, we're basically in the last half. Yeah, they're basically, we're
Facebook especially, like even more than Instagram.
Yeah. So I think actually the network effects was one of those things that used to be like one of their biggest advantages that's now acting against them. Because if you notice, Facebook and any other social media platform, they really benefit from the fact that like there are other people on there, you know, and you get to connect with them and so on. The more people on there, the better. That's their value, right? But if people start to drop off, then the value drop is also as exponential, just like inverted completely. And so you'll see that their fall will not be graceful. Right. And I think Zuckerberg sees that. This is why I think he's trying to change that. Like they can milk that cash cow from Instagram, Facebook, and so on as much as they want, but they're not going to do it within
not with the way things are
doing
going.
it within the next decade. I don't think it will survive.
Well, I'd like to bring this up too, and that's that they're a data-driven social media platform. Like without the data, they can't roll in the revenue. And now Apple has introduced this new, I guess you could say, feature where the data cannot be tracked as much as it could be. It's not like Google where you go on any site and that's data. This is like Facebook is now not getting as much revenue as it was before, right?
Yeah.
So now they have to think about where else can they experiment and get what they need.
Fair enough. Put yourself in Zuckerberg's shoes. What do you think the benefits of a metaverse, like betting yourself on the metaverse is?
Well, obviously, first thing is market share, right? When you're the first one there, when you successfully implement it and you're the first one there, that's a lot of market share. People are going to think. You're also, keep in mind, you want to be the center of the attention. Like you want headlines to be about you. You're the first one in the metaverse, right? So that when people are thinking, okay, I got a VR headset, I got the Oculus headset. Let's try out this metaverse stuff. They go to your platform, Horizon Worlds, not Microsoft. I forgot what it's called, but that's the first thing, the market share. You want to capture as much of that as possible, as quick as possible. Second thing I think he sees is the fact that there is potential to make money. Simply, it's the same way how they're already doing it now through data, right? There's a lot of ways to capture data through the metaverse. There's also online transactions, right? On the metaverse, microtransactions, for example. I think there are benefits to that. And that's what I think Zuckerberg is trying to capture. Take advantage of that market share and try to make as much of a profit as possible as he can.
I want to talk about the problems of that, but do you want to jump in?
I think Talha captured most of what I was going to add about it, but I would say since it is new territory, it's not regulated as heavy as, like current social media. So I want to agree that data is going to be very, very easy to acquire and very valuable too.
What would you think if you put yourself in the shoes of a lizard, lizard being?
Oh my God, oh, no.
No, because you know what? His bet might succeed, but it also might fail. And the issue with that being your entire brand at the moment is that if it does fail, you fail completely.
Yeah, this man had a castle. Like, it's coming down.
And this is what we're kind of seeing right now with some really bad reception of Meta at the moment.
Yeah, because he took a very, very risky step. And the issue is that there are other companies that introduce some form of entrepreneurship, intra being inside a company, and they start to basically experiment with new technologies and new concepts, do their own experiments within the market, see if it works. But he basically skipped all of that.
He threw it all away,
and decided, you know what, we'll just make this our new brand because I am 100% positive this will be the future. Even if it was the future, do you think the time is now? Because listen, from a technological standpoint, the Meta Quest Pro, which is right now its flagship metaverse,
the commercial use one,
it's for innovators, okay? It's for the early adopters. Okay. It's for the enthusiasts.
It's for people who basically just use VR for other things, not metaverse.
It's a Google Glass, basically.
Like basically
works slightly better.
It works slightly.
Google Glass is a whole different
Think
story.
about it like this: technologically, they've actually done very well.
Yeah.
Like the headset's incredibly lightweight. It's very well built. Okay, I haven't tried it, but like I'm just looking at like every single person that's incredibly critical of these things seems to like it.
Yeah.
Right.
Aside from the pricing, they say it's pretty well done.
I mean, like
even the pricing is hard to evaluate given like what the metaverse could be.
No, but the issue with the pricing is like think about its components. Snapdragon, like
I get that.
Right?
I get
256 gigs of storage, 12 gigs of RAM.
Well, they're actually losing money. Like that's why they had to increase the price of the Meta Quest 2 because they were actually losing money. It's like a video game console model. Like they're actually not profiting from that. It's the data that they used to profit from.
Yeah. So it's 90 FPS as well. So like it has all the flagship type like things that you would look for, all the specs that you would look for.
But the problem is when someone thinks I want to get into the metaverse and they see this $1,500 price in front of their face that they have to.
But you've got a laptop, don't you?
That is true.
You think a lot of people have laptops? Well, that basically means like it's an investment.
It's an investment, but like if it's already skeptical concept is what I mean. Would people really like when they say, fine, I'll give it a try, and then they realize, oh wait, there's kind of a pay.
Well, but they're not going to go for the Quest Pro. Like they're going to go for the Quest 3, which is only like $499, $599.
I guess so.
I think most people are going to go for that option, and then if they become like a virtuoso of VR, then maybe it's time to upgrade.
Okay, so this is a really good point actually about time. Do you think the time is now for Meta to be introducing this stuff? Do you think they should have made this announcement about changing into Meta like maybe 5 years down the line, or do you think it was a good move?
That's a really good question because I think that's what a lot of people are talking about. Is it really the time? Because I think it's hard to decide or gauge that because technology can change just like that. Within a few years, we might have something that is revolutionary. I mean, take into account VR chat has existed for quite a long time, and people literally talk about that as being one of the closest things to a metaverse at the moment that is more so successful. like maybe, because that's what I'm saying, it's probably already a thing, and this could be an excellent time to really profit on it. It's just the way it's being marketed and the timing that's being, I think the timing is right. It's just that he's rushing into it in a way, but it's hard. I honestly, I think it's really hard to gauge his time. The timing is right, but the way he's doing it, I feel like is questionable. Putting way too much money into it, I think really believing that people will hop on is a meh, right? It takes, transitions like these take for a couple of years, I think.
Here's some stats that might change your mind.
Okay.
Right? 400 million Metaverse monthly active users.
Really?
So basically 500 million people currently use something that is involved in a Metaverse.
So VR,
platform.
AR, something like that.
VR, AR, and all the digital worlds that currently exist within
Second
the internet.
Life, World of Warcraft.
Yeah, because like Roblox is the biggest.
Well, Roblox
virtual
is the
world.
biggest metaverse. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got basically 74% of the American adults are joining or considering joining the Metaverse. That's a lot of people,
That's interesting.
right?
That's
So if
surprising.
you were Zuck, you would think this is an opportunity.
Okay, yeah. fair. No, I get that, and that's why I say the timing is right. I feel, especially when you're such a competitive tech environment, tech market is super competitive. People jump on that really quickly, especially when you're against billion-dollar competitors. I think.
Yeah, but like,
I don't know. Like, I agree with you, but at the same time, this is the same company that got in trouble with their data with Cambridge Analytica, and like they currently have, like, if you ask anybody on the street, like, do you like Facebook? Like, do you like the way they're going? I feel like some people are going to say no. Like, I feel like they're stealing my data and all that stuff. I feel like there needs to be a bit of a wait. I know the idea of a metaverse has existed since the 90s. Like, I understand that it's been around, but I just feel like because it's Zuckerberg, he can't rush into this.
Yeah.
So the
Because it's
issue-
him, because it's Facebook.
The issue is Facebook. It's not about the concept.
If it was Google, I would say go right
Imagine
ahead.
if Elon Musk was in the position of Zuckerberg right now. How would he do it?
I think he's got Twitter to manage first, but
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
he's actually much more controversial than like I hear
Probably.
more about Elon Musk
Than
and
Zuck.
his controversies
him I would recommend a little less than
than
Zuck. But
yeah, because honestly, just the way that he acts, like just the
Yeah.
way that Mark acts, because he doesn't know this, but like other than the brand shift, like people look to you as who you are,
Yeah.
how you're presenting this.
He does
Yeah.
not look human. I kid you not.
yeah,
If
he's
you've ever
not
seen-
Jobs, right? Like when Steve Jobs goes up there and he's like, "This is the future," with his little
Yes,
tiny black
that's
box.
a good
Respect.
point. Yes.
Yeah, and
a
he
good point.
commands your attention, and
Yeah.
you take him seriously.
Yeah.
That's a really good
Zuckerberg
comparison.
Looks like that, you know, like that nerdy guy at the back of the lecture hall. Like,
Who's
in
right?
the
Hey,
computer
Guys,
science
we
class.
got legs now, guys.
Yeah, like he. Other than that, because like yes, I agree. His persona isn't necessarily the most appealing within the tech space.
Yeah, I think that the environment is fine for a metaverse. I just feel like because it's Facebook, like that's why. Like,
Okay, interesting. I can get behind that definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
but if you have more stats for us or anything to change our minds, please.
oh no,
by all
like
means.
that just happened to be like
Yeah.
a fortuitous
right.
stats like right in front of me, and while he was saying this, I was like, okay, let me just change the mind right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but so we were talking about the pros of it. I mean, we should delve into that a little bit
Yes.
more, because when we talk about the metaverse as a concept, we understand like it already exists. There are also potential shifts in the future that can help us make our lives a little bit more convenient. And so futuristically, a lot of people have been thinking about like a workspace within your living room, basically. So,
Yeah.
like putting on whatever headset.
Yeah,
and
virtual
suddenly the idea of VR and AR. So the concept of merging them both is mixed reality. Right. And so if you have a virtual reality superimposed into the objects that you currently have, you can create a virtual reality within the reality that you are, which is augmented reality, and you can switch between them. Obviously, other than the working from home aspect, one of the issues that, for example, people had with Zoom is that whenever they try to interact virtually, they cannot see the other person, their facial expressions,
Their
and
presence.
so on.
Yeah, it's just a flat screen.
Yeah, so their presence is a little bit, what? Can you say depleted?
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
screen. You just see a
Yeah.
picture of them on a screen. You don't feel their presence in a room or around you.
So what if you merged that reality of like me and Simon speaking face to face, And instead of Simon like coming to me physically and meeting me there, like a hologram of Simon or his avatar shows up.
Cool.
Because I'm like looking through the headset, right? There are very like a lot of implications about this. Like you don't necessarily have to buy so many monitors for like thousands and thousands of dollars now. You can put this headset on. And it will,
The world is your monitor.
Infinite amounts of monitors.
Monitor, exactly.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting thing, and I actually did see that in MKBHD's video as well, because that video came out after like the huge backlash against Meta, and because he gave it a shot, and I actually didn't know that's how it worked. Like that's incredible, because it's like what, $1,500 headset, 3 monitor setup, which probably costs $2,000, $4,000 depending on the quality and everything. Like having all that just there in front of you wherever you want it as well is pretty insane, and I think that's a lot of value that needs to be explored. That's one of the bigger pros that I feel as well with the whole augmented reality benefit of.
And one thing too is the interaction. Like for instance, there's an app out there for metaverses called Big Screen, and you can essentially like put on your monitor or your screen or whatever, like in a movie theater setting, in an office setting, whatever, and everybody can collaborate on that. Like you can pull up a whiteboard and just start drawing. Like I feel like there is a lot of potential because, well, for one, there is haptic feedback every time you do something. Like if you hold someone's hand, like that itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So then that eliminates
that's Ready Player One stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Like on a very, like it's not super haptic, it's just a vibration, right? But it's
still getting there, and obviously it starts from one place and it gets better. Like even cell phones had that haptic feedback with the touchscreen buttons, and now people say it's so good to the point where like
I don't know if you guys have seen the Tesla suit, but it's like a full body haptic VR thing. Like it's just like Ready Player One. Like it's not commercially available or whatever. But
so if somebody touches you in the
you'll
VR
feel
world,
it.
you'll feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is like beyond, someday, but not today.
Yeah, I still think people will adopt it if the value of it was clear. I think let's talk about the features that you would like most into basically implemented within the metaverse.
Frost, do you hate the way you look?
Do I hate the way I look?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to tell me? Like you can create an avatar?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's one of the few things that people market about the metaverse as a good thing. Is
So why are you deflecting your insecurities on me?
okay, fine. I'm just trying to market it to you. So you would have said
You're a
something.
handsome guy, Talha.
Okay, thank
But
you.
do you want to be a Ugandan Knuckles?
I was gonna. Okay, this is how
I'll
it was
be
gonna
thoroughly
work.
disappointed if you showed me an avatar that doesn't look like you.
Okay, fair. That's true. I would be too. That's called catfishing. Anyways, I was about to say like something like, "Hey, Frost, are you upset with the way you look?" You would have said, "Yes, I hate the way I look." And I said, "Well, in the metaverse, you can look like Tom Cruise."
Honestly, that sounds a little bit dystopian.
Appeal? Okay.
Don't know if I would like that, to be honest. Like,
Okay, anyways, but that's one of the bigger realities of the virtual reality space is that you can look however you want to.
Your imagination could have run wild, man. You could have mentioned any feature, and you told me like, "Oh man, the fact that like I can make an avatar that looks."
Well, that's
like,
one of the most attractive things about it.
well, I hate to be like the downer in this case, but guys, have you seen the metaverse avatars? Like the Mii's look better than that on the Nintendo Miiverse.
Yeah.
So actually, that's what they're showing at the moment. But what people don't know as much is the fact that, first of all, there's a lot of facial recognition that goes behind a lot of the headset, right?
I have seen that.
The facial recognition system is really good. So any sort of reactions you would have, right, is properly reflected onto your avatar. And second thing is that Facebook is also trying to create a system where it scans a digital image of your face. So you take your phone and you'd scan a picture of your face.
Oh, so like Sword Art Online style, basically.
Kinda. So then you scan a picture of your face, it will capture and map it accordingly, and that would be your face on in the metaverse, basically. And a lot of people, and it's actually pretty good. It's a prototype at the moment. It's not being used as much, but it's definitely a really good concept, especially if they combine it with the whole facial recognition. So you could actually have a very close to accurate representation of what you look like in the metaverse.
Interesting. My personally, what I would like, just because of the fact that like I see so much potential with this, is the mixed reality gaming scene. Basically having like let's say you're playing a zombie game, but within your actual living room.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
That would be so sick. Like,
I mean, I have seen Minecraft demos with the Windows, or I should say Microsoft mixed reality, where you can like build on top of tables, like real tables and all that. Like it's pretty sick.
Minecraft IRL.
Honestly, I really do think the mental health aspect is going to be crazy.
It is a big concept.
Like I see a huge potential for psychosis. In
Oh no!
Like if they stay too long, they'll feel like there is an actual zombie coming after them.
They're walking around their home at night and they hear and they start freaking out.
Yeah, like they try to
they take it
out, but it exists. There's nothing there.
They turn on the light outside their house. Okay, so we talked about the more fantasy-based sort of pros about the metaverse, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about productivity-wise and what this means, like maybe for the environment or something like that. I think there is definitely a lot of, first of all, having an office space that is within your house, within reach, means one, you don't have to commute to work.
Yes.
There's no cost associated with driving, no pollution as well. So those are a few things. More time spent being productive in a way, right? You know, you could spend more time brewing up your morning coffee rather than rushing to work or something like that, for example. Even they're talking about how, so in school you normally write your answers on a piece of paper or take notes. Now we transformed it into typing on a keyboard or a computer.
Yeah.
In the future, we might be using EMP, which is electromagnetic pulses, I think, within your brain, right? Which your brain uses to communicate with your body, right? The metaverse headset or whatever headset that comes to be in the future will essentially read those EMP pulses that your brain emits to do what you're thinking. So if you have a certain thought, right, you're thinking, write down this. It'll automatically read that and write this memo down or something like that. So
yeah, that's useful. Actually, the 3 paradigm shifts that was talked about in the book about metaverse. By the way, there's a book about navigating the metaverse
Already. Wow.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
it's about it's by Bartolo, Lueth, and Hackle. Right? They all sound like
people bought by Meta.
Are these the usernames of the people on the
from a
metaverse?
fantasy video game.
Yeah,
But sound like lizard humans bought by Meta.
Zucker and Berg.
Yeah. So they were talking about the 3 paradigm shifts regarding experience, identity, and ownership, which very much relates to your point, Talha, because they said that people want to experience like a gamified reality around them that also basically integrates the productivity aspect of life. So they make productivity and play look and feel the same. And in terms of identity, we already talked about this, about like you can configure your physical identity, but it's more deep than that. It's about creating a digital you, and the physical you is now indistinguishable, where it becomes just one thing. And the ownership aspect, which is the idea that like you've seen this through NFTs, for example, you've seen this. So Nike or whatever you want to call it.
You just called it Nike.
It's called
first
Nike.
Try. Okay.
It's called Nike.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, like they're making clothing, for example, for the metaverse, and they're selling it, and only if you buy it from them would you, because they own the rights for that, so on and so forth. So you would have digital.
And I'm assuming
ownership.
NFTs sort of play part of this, right?
Yeah, because they are NFTs.
They're basically
right?
NFTs, right? Okay.
Yeah, they are NFTs. Anything digital that.
Well, it's like video game cosmetic, right?
Yeah.
We've already seen brand sponsorships.
So you can't be running around with fake Nikes basically in the metaverse.
Maybe there will be a market for it.
Fake Nike. That's the thing. That's what I was
interesting,
talking about. There's a whole profit to be made on the metaverse because of microtransactions. We've seen this in video games, right?
Well, Roblox already has so many of these brand sponsorships. So
Yeah. So I see this all as like very possible. I think there's a lot of value in all of this. Now, you mentioned this briefly, Simon. You were talking about the fact that like you do not think that Meta is the company that will forward the concept of the metaverse into reality and manifest it. So where do you think they went wrong? Like if
you're asking me where Facebook went wrong?
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Okay,
Meta.
So obviously, like from the context of their history, there's a lot of shady stuff going on. But I'm like, I have my opinions about this.
Okay.
I think if I was Zuckerberg, I would have done it very differently, and I think by now I would see a lot of success. But what do I know?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, Simon, what do you think?
Okay, well, I mean, Meta itself, I feel like they do have the know-how, and it's because they acquired Oculus, because Oculus does know what they're doing. They've been making pretty good headsets
They're
for
a
quite a
market
while.
leader, I would say, as well.
Yeah, I would say they are the pioneer. Like, they're the Doom or Wolfenstein to this, if this was a video game, right? But think about it like this. Like, I don't know if either of you have had a headset on for more than an hour, but you do not want to have that thing on you.
Yeah,
You will be covered in sweat.
That's a concern I had, which is how do you deal with literally, you know, the whole old saying, don't sit too close to the TV, right? You'll damage your eyes.
Literally looking right, like you get tired.
Don't worry, that was just a fad.
Really?
It's not true.
Okay, I did not know that.
Well, you're not pressing your eyes against the.
So what
as long as you don't do
about
it for long periods of time.
blue light, whatever it's called? Is that not-
That's
again, like
not
people don't
really-
necessarily understand like what the effects. When I say people, I don't mean the scientists. I mean like people read as like, you're not supposed to see blue light for longer. Forget it. So it's the fact that you're just straining your eyes a lot when you're seeing like things up close, and those are very specific muscles. When you look out to the distance, those activate a whole different sort of physiology. Not whole different. They're just like a different set. So you're basically straining them too much if you're looking too close. But funnily enough, your brain doesn't know that they're looking at a screen if it looks all 3D. So like if it's looking in the distance, it's looking in the distance.
Right,
That's fair, yeah.
Well, I did watch a video by the Wall Street Journal. There's a journalist who made a video on it, basically spending 24 hours in virtual reality, right? This was around, I think, last year once Meta became Meta, right? Basically, apparently, obviously, it hurts your eyes and it affects, sometimes causes headaches, but apparently that's short-lived. You could spend like your whole day in the metaverse and you could just go about it just fine. Apparently it's just that your brain needs to get accustomed to it. You know how simply when you first get new glasses and it kind of gives you some headaches, apparently that's how it works. But
you do need to get your legs. That's
a thing.
There is a big learning curve.
When I think a week ago, Mark Zuckerberg had a big update and was doubling down on Metaverse, and his big announcement was that they're finally getting legs. Considering a lot of people talking about it last year, they're like, where are our legs? And he thought this was the biggest innovative move within the past year.
I think that kind of brings us to the second sort of problem I have with Meta leading the charge, is that they're not very good at
marketing.
Like they don't really interpret what people are thinking and then put it into their product. They sort of just think, we're the cool kids, we can do whatever we want.
Right.
Legs, guys, legs.
I find it very funny that legs was the center of attention with the metaverse versus the fact that they have facial recognition that's really good, and the whole like capturing an image of your face and body and everything, that they didn't market that, right? Which is what a lot of people kind of are concerned about, right? Is the avatars and stuff. The legs thing is the biggest focus, and I find it very weird.
Like they want their legs in the metaverse. Is that?
Yeah, that's what
you're just hovering around right now. You're just head and arms in most games and worlds.
And the fact that they're not that's not the actual good things. The progression with the metaverse isn't being captured, right? Is I think one of the few reasons why the metaverse is kind of receiving a lot of backlash as well.
Oh, I see. So basically, the product that they're doing it with, the marketing.
It's just not there. They're sort of making mistakes.
Missing,
I think,
a few things.
Yeah, because my whole issue with it was the marketing side.
Oh,
right?
So we hit it on the nail there.
Yeah, because honest to God, it's like this man has never created a company before. Could you imagine anybody going up to someone and it's like, hey, so think about it like this, yeah? This is the future, and we're gonna do that. And someone asks like, how are you going to do it? You're like, don't have to worry about it right now.
On a side note, every sort of video I've seen Zuckerberg appear on, I always think he's actually doing a super long marketing stunt where they've already developed the whole facial recognition thing, and he's simply just doing that on video. He's not actually there in the video.
He's fake. Yeah.
He's just been representing himself in the metaverse already with the whole technology, and he's gonna come out one day and be like, "Oh, I've just been in the metaverse this whole time."
I think he needed someone charismatic. Like he's not that person.
No,
I don't know.
But it's not only that, it's the fact that like the way that he did it, especially at the very beginning, all the way back in February, he didn't present the products.
No, he did
He
not.
just talked about like, here's a few renders, right? Of like what it will look like. How do you even get there? The thing is, most consumers are not thinking to themselves like, ooh, nice graphics, bro. Like this is, most consumers are thinking, how is this going to impact my life and make it better? How?
Yeah.
Right? And no, don't just show me the end product. Like, show me what the product is. Like, don't,
Like there needs to be a polished sort of end goal, right?
Like, so that I know what to expect.
Yeah.
And the issue is like, you're changing everything, including your personal brand, and you're associating that, like,
For what,
it's the
right?
wrong step. It's the wrong first step to take. Right.
I think they should have just gone the Google route and kept like the Facebook identity, but had that be its own thing. Like, I don't know, maybe this.
Yeah, that's what most companies do, right?
Yes.
Like the entrepreneurship side. It's like they create like a small little company within a company, and they go like, hey, here's your budget. Here are the people that's going to be working with you. They're very talented.
Yeah.
If you can make sure this works, I want you to capture a market, capture a niche. Right. And after you captured that, let's see if it expands. And then we can even discuss.
Now people know.
Then we can discuss its future.
Well, imagine if Google said, okay, now we have rebranded to Stadia. We're just going to do games now. Wish us luck, guys.
Yeah.
That would be the end of Google, right?
Right.
Yeah, because it's so interesting how they ended up implementing this, and especially the timing, right? And what I mean by timing is there's no way to sugarcoat it. We're not in a good economic position everywhere in the world, right? A lot of people have concerns.
A lot of
about
real
their safety,
world
about the
concerns, yeah.
security, about like fantasizing about the future.
Well, you can just escape those concerns in the metaverse.
Just run away, guys. Run away.
You don't have to face those realities. That's the idea behind.
And to play devil's advocate, we just went out of a pandemic. Like, we were in lockdown for quite a while. Like, if we had a metaverse to go to during that time, it wouldn't have been. I feel like it would have been optimal, actually. Like, look at Animal Crossing and other.
Well, that's why VR chat became popular, and a lot of these other smaller platforms, especially some of the stuff that Microsoft is looking into, like those.
You could even say they missed it there.
Meeting rooms as well.
I
But
would have said that they're actually very drained by that time. Like everybody has lived a virtual reality
That's
for
fair.
2 years.
I think so.
Could you
as
imagine
well.
as soon as you come out of
That's
it,
a
like,
really
okay,
good
what if you're
point.
more integrated?
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good point.
Do you want
I
to just
agree.
disconnect more from?
So how would you improve it if you were Zuckerberg? Like how would you steer the ship towards a more successful future for at least Meta?
Well, I think it's already sort of kicking off slightly in the right direction. I think you just need people talking about the seriousness of it. I think move it away from a concept of fantasy and, a wacky idea that's just trending into something that can seem more practical.
Practicality.
Advertise the practicality of it, I think. I think a really good thing that's happening recently is, I don't know if MKBHD or these YouTubers were recently paid by Zuckerberg to really promote this idea, but after that big announcement from Zuckerberg, right, about the Metaverse update, and after the backlash, of course, a couple of tech YouTubers like Linus Tech Tips, MKBHD, right, a lot of people listen to these guys, and they came out with videos about the Metaverse, explaining it perfectly with 10 to 20 minutes, just quick explanation rather than an hour-long conference about something, right? Just quickly explain what it is, the benefits, what are the realities, and what this could possibly be. And they did it really, really well. Really good reception about it.
Yeah,
and that's what they need.
from the get-go.
Well, because these guys liaise like so much better than Zuck. Like, let's be honest, they actually know what their audience, like the general consumers, know and want, what terms they understand, like what is the metaverse? Zuckerberg has not been able to answer that.
If I was Zuckerberg, the first thing I would do is actually fire my CMO, because like they're doing a terrible job. And not only that, but like informing me as a CEO, like there's a certain way to do things.
There needs to be
especially
better
when it
communication.
comes to the marketing aspect. It's because you can have a terrific product, right? You need to make sure that there's perfect market product fit. Right.
Yeah.
You need to make sure the timing's right. You need to sure that you at least talked about it in a sense where people can go like, oh yeah, I understand this completely and I understand its advantages, and then I can make a decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when the smartphone comes out, people don't know what it does. You have to explain it, right?
Yeah, but definitely Meta didn't pay any of these YouTubers, I don't think, unless they disclosed that. Because
I don't know.
Yeah, they would have to.
They would have to say it.
Yeah, but other than that, it's like a lot of them they
sell it to us as if we're normal humans ready to buy this product.
Because if you don't see cons, your brain immediately says ad. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Speaking of cons, I think we really did dive into like the positive sides and how this could have been implemented better. But I do realize that maybe we don't want a metaverse future as well, and there are some implications as to why.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's technical downsides. Maybe obviously the fact that these headsets won't run forever. They have a battery life.
Yeah, like 1
There's
hour,
charging, etc.
30 minutes.
Second, but that's just minor technical things. I think over time, technology will improve. Second is the data related stuff, right? Facebook historically has not been good with this, right? We had our data rights violated, behind a screen simply, right?
Yep.
On an online portfolio. What happens when we face a security threat with our data when it takes control or has information on our brain and stuff, right? On a lot of things we do on the daily. What if that data is at risk, right? So there's that concern as well. The third and final concern I would say is more social and psychological regarding the metaverse. It's the separation from reality and what becomes of reality after the metaverse. I think that's actually probably the biggest con I fear about when it comes to the future. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say for that last one, a lot of people have sort of criticized Metaverse saying like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to escape or are you trying to imitate? Like, what is the end goal of making this like world? Is it efficiency? Like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Meta has not come out and said, this is why we are making Metaverse. That there has been no reason provided. So I think that the future of Metaverse is very open. Like, right now, we don't know what they're planning, but there needs to be more planning, I guess you could say.
No, that's completely fair. But again, remind me of your first point.
The technical stuff, like for example, headset battery life or
Yeah, that always improves over time incrementally. And I'm gonna have to make you repeat here.
The last point?
Second and third one.
Second one was the data. So data violations, stuff like that. Our data being used for the wrong reasons. They will have more access to it in the metaverse, basically.
Yeah. So the second one actually relates to what I think is what Meta's trying to achieve, but isn't necessarily convenient for everybody else. I think MKBHD already mentioned this, which is the idea that they can pioneer it as long as they don't have centralized and monopolized control.
Yes. So open source it, basically.
Yeah, open source it completely, but also at the same time, like, have players do different things regarding the general metaverse. Okay, you don't have to do everything.
Yes.
And
have content creators involved. Have them bring the audience.
No, I mean companies as well. Like companies, so that they can compete. We always win if that's the case.
Yeah.
If they don't compete, then you're basically at the mercy of their benevolence, which, again, like, they don't have the best track record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what can you say? Like, they've defended themselves profusely during the last time they were criticized. Say that they have the power to basically aggregate everybody's data within their servers and decide to do something that without you knowing,
right?
Like, just like before. Will they change their perspective and say like, yes, we were wrong in doing this? Probably not. So this is one of the issues that I think needs to be addressed, because if we're going to get into a metaverse reality, and I think
we need security as well.
Yeah. The security aspect is actually going to be very huge. Like,
there's going to be a lot of regulations that they're going to have to figure out.
Imagine real life security, but online. It's going to be a lot.
The regulations part only comes after the
the
penalty.
well. Like,
right?
Remember early internet? Like, it's going to be Wild West out there.
Yeah, government regulations, government trying to monetize off of this, potentially taxes, etc. There's a bunch of things that are going to follow suit after.
Maybe your eye tracking data will be worth like money and have regulations. Like, everything.
Like, the government is not a benevolent power either, because obviously, like, when they talked about Cambridge Analytica and everything, and how they helped, for example, Trump get into win the presidency, that was clearly a government party. So what can you say about that? Definitely. The issue about the government regulating the government is that the government is genuinely just calling the shots, and if it decides to not regulate itself and its operations, then it's a different story. There are obviously like different departments of the government, but can you imagine, for example, the FBI, CIA, and all of that knowing intimately how everybody functions, how everyone thinks, and how we're gonna
be a lot of
like,
Snowdens coming out.
Yeah, there will be a lot of Have you watched Psychopaths as like an anime? If anybody is familiar with this, basically it's the idea that like the whole concept of the anime is people, like the police forces stop other people before they do crimes just by an algorithm. So like and that algorithm is usually 100% right. And it's crazy if, for example, let's say you have, I don't know, let's say you have a dark thought. Like, there will be a lot of thought police at this point. Like, let's say you have a dark thought, and then immediately after you get like a knock from a man named George from the Federal Bureau.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You have like a wild thought, and it portrays that, and it sends a signal. Like,
oh man.
Okay, and then what about the last point, which is the social stuff? What are your thoughts on that? How does that affect the reality, and etc.? Like, how would that affect
The social stuff is all speculative. Like, you won't necessarily know because we don't know what the metaverse will look like in about 5-7 years time. So because of the fact that this is an outcome of that system, if you don't know what the system is, you will never know what the implications socially of it is going to be.
Yeah, I agree with Firas. Like, a lot of this comes naturally. Like, the internet etiquette sort of evolved as a part of the medium and the people interacting on it. I think the anonymity might factor into like VR interaction, but I don't think it'll be like, it's going to be radically different from the internet, in my opinion.
Think about keyboard warriors in your face in person.
Now they're saying things to your face.
Saying things to your face.
I think they would actually like be a little bit,
There's a bit of
more
regulation.
hesitant. You know, like if they're seeing you and
More so than like something like 4chan or whatever.
because like they're so ready to just like trash you online because they don't know you. But if they're saying it to your face,
because
like,
Metaverse is a little controlled at the moment, like the Horizons world. Think about VR chat or Roblox and how toxic the environment can be.
You have to, like, people set boundaries so people can't get close because of things like this happening.
You could probably, even in Metaverse, even regulate who you see, right? Like, you could say, I only want to see people above this age or something like that around me and stuff.
But that's also another issue, self-regulation.
Yes.
So
because not everybody's going to self.
Yeah, because in the world, right, we're exposed to everything and everything, right? Within the Metaverse, if you get too accustomed to it, you create an artificial world for yourself, which is just what you want to see, and that can sometimes, more often, not be good for you. Right?
Yeah, but like a lot of people are involved, and everyone has done this, and this is coming from someone who's like taken a lot of psychology courses and knows this for a fact, and this is corroborated by the research. It's not everything that you do is in your best interest, okay? Especially when like the macro scale effects of it, like let's say your decisions right now might affect the way that you end up developing as a person. And so if that was really just up to you, could you imagine how many people like with avoidance issues are going to have? Like,
That's not going to be good.
So
introverted sort of people who, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's that, as well as like anything inconvenient is suddenly very easy to block.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is an issue people see today as well with blocking and sort of creating a false world.
So you curate like a very small, tiny aspect of the world, and you go like, this is my patch of land.
Yes.
This is my bubble in the metaverse.
And then if the metaverse becomes bigger, it just exponentially grows that factor significantly.
No one's going to disagrey with each other because no one's going to have the opportunity.
That's a factor in every
How would that
medium.
affect, like, voting and everything in the future as well? Like, there's a lot of social implications that it's hard to see.
We have to stop getting into a dystopian mindset at the end of the episode. Either way, we had a really nice discussion about this. Honestly, I think there was a lot to process for me, as well as I'm sure a lot of other listeners about the metaverse and what it will mean for them and all the technologies associated with it.
All right, that is good.
Thank you so much.
I feel like we could even do more with this topic. Like, there's so much.
So much social.
So much.
I mean, even
social
touch,
side of it. We didn't,
whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you in 2 weeks. Goodbye.